All right, we are just about ready. Oh, okay, nope, definitely not. We need to set the sound. Need to mute whatever is playing. You this. And let me put, we weren't quite that ready, but we're getting pretty close now. How's it going, DCD and C Grover? Good morning, or whatever time of day it is for you folks. Thanks for coming to hang out. DCD, also, I should mention thank you for that message. I did see your message. I haven't got back to you yet, but I do appreciate that. I saw that this morning when I got up, and I do think I'm totally into looking into the automated transcript pulling stuff. Right? I think that would be pretty cool. I think it'd be interesting, maybe to display those stats in some kind of meaningful way, like if there was a word cloud over time or something like that. That could also help folks find stuff that are interesting. But I do think, well, hold on. Actually, let me let's do an introduction, and then I'll give some more of my thoughts on that. So hello to everyone who might be new. My name is Tim. I go by foamyguy on GitHub and Discord. We will be working with CircuitPython stuff. If you don't know what CircuitPython is, this is a good place to get started. CircuitPython.org. To give you a brief idea, this is basically a version of Python that will run on these tiny computers. There's a bunch of them in the pictures in the background here. And on the camera here I have pulled up, this one is a Feather TFT, which has a ESP32S2. On the back there, you can see the main chip, I believe is inside of the case on this one. It's got this metal shield on it, and it's inside of there. This one happens to have access to Wi-Fi, so it's got kind of an antenna trace out here. Maybe if I get the light just right, you can see it. But this is just one of many different shapes and sizes that these tiny computers called microcontrollers come in. And we are writing Python code that we save on this device, and it runs for us to do whatever we want. Today we'll be pulling stats from a website, or stats about a website, I should say, US government websites, and displaying them on the screen of this device. If you are interested in getting involved, there's a couple ways. Definitely encourage you to head to the Discord, which is the chat that's on the screen there. The Adafruit Discord, you can head there and join. There's folks, all times of day, all days of the week. All of the development for the project takes place in the Discord, so if you want to get involved in development, that's the place to go. There's help channels. If you're trying to use devices and you need help, you can head there. All sorts of stuff if you want to join us there. And I will say the other thing, if you want to get involved in development on CircuitPython.org, there is this contributing link. This is a good place to go. It's going to take you to all the open pull requests, all the open issues. This is kind of usually where folks first get started is, open pull requests or the good first issues that show up in here. There's a filter in here. You can do good first issues. So these are some good places to look if you want to get involved. If you want to help support the project, you can do that by heading over to adafruit.com and purchasing your hardware from them. CircuitPython is an open source project, but it is primarily funded by the folks at Adafruit. They are paying the team that works full-time on CircuitPython. They're paying some folks like me who work part-time on CircuitPython for us all to work on the project. So if you purchase your hardware from them, you are helping us and the folks who are working on CircuitPython, and thus helping CircuitPython. Yes. CircuitPython. Yeah, this is the board, I think. Oops, I probably just took over the chat. I think, yeah, this is the right board. So I will be updating it too. I think this one, I don't know if I have taken it out of the package yet. Let's see, that's Adafruit, that's CircuitPython. Okay, so diving in, I'll briefly introduce this, and then I will get back to the topic of catalogs, and I'll expand a little bit for folks that are not don't know what we're talking about. So what I'm going to look at today is this. Where's the site? This is the analytics.usa.gov. This site shows actually a bunch of different analytics about government websites that they publish that you can get for free. All of this stuff is free, so there's very, very high level, like there's this many people on government websites right now, but there's also like top 10 lists for currently, or the last 7 days, or the last 30 days. You can get some interesting information about like which government websites people are using the most. Hint, it's a lot of the post office. It's a lot of the free COVID tests that came online recently, the government program there. It's interesting to see though, like what kind of stuff is in there. There's also some deeper stats. Where did I see that? Was that an API or somewhere? No. Well, this is details about the API, which is helpful. But there's actually just a list. Where did I get to that list? About the site data? Is it just data? Yeah, this is it. If you're interested in web development, there's like front-end web development, there's actually some really interesting categories in here, like a compilation of different screen sizes, a compilation of desktop versus mobile versus tablet traffic. So those are some kind of interesting numbers if you do web design, gaining insight on, I'll say relatively average web audience. Maybe the audience of the US government sites don't match up perfectly with yours, in which case, you got to kind of figure out what those numbers mean for you. But there's interesting information in there from the perspective of like which sizes of devices, which types of devices, operating systems, browsers, stuff like that is generating the most traffic, and therefore you kind of know where to focus your efforts on the design side sometimes. We'll be pulling stats from here. We're going to show them on the TFT screen. I figured this would be a great use for this little TFT Feather device. I haven't busted it out just yet, I don't think, or maybe I may have pulled it out once to test something on it. I don't know for certain though, but I certainly haven't done too much with it yet. So I figured this would be a good one because it does have internet Wi-Fi capabilities built in, and it does have a nice little screen which we can draw onto, which it looks like is even a color screen. I think Blinka is purple on there, so we have a nice little screen we can show. We can't show too many stats, right? This page has an awful lot of stuff, especially this whole list here is all extra information. Some of this is, I think, not even represented on that front page, but there's access to it there, and it's a lot of it's formatted in JSON, and some others are CSV, so we could relatively easily pull any of those and show information on the display, but obviously we'll have to limit it or make some ways to page through it or something. Maybe we have some interesting challenges to work through on like displaying a useful and interesting amount of information on the display that's not huge, but pretty big for the size of the device. Okay. Oh, they're out of stock right now. Yeah, I picked it up. I'll probably just took over the chat again. I gotta get used to copying the chat links, maybe. Oh, that's the back in the stock. Yeah, let me pull up the page for that as well, actually. CFT Featherwing. I think maybe you had linked a minute ago. Oh, well, it's not a Featherwing, duh. Featherwing. Yeah, okay, that helps. Yeah, out of stock. I picked it up a couple of weeks back. I threw it in an order I had. I did get lucky. I think I got it in the first or second batch. But they do sell, devices. They do tend to sell out in waves pretty quickly, especially when they're new. It's definitely true. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna be working on. Hitting on some of the other stuff that I started talking about, just dove straight in because I noticed the DCD is here. So for folks that don't know, starting sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll be taking over the deep dive stream. Not taking over, but I'll be streaming in the time slot of deep dive. I'll be doing the deep dives for the time being while Scott's away. Scott, of course, is expecting a child with his partner, and so that's amazing. Congratulations to Scott for sure. But he is certainly not going to have as much time, this year, maybe as he did last year and the previous years. Especially, I would imagine the first couple of years of having a child is a big adjustment, I imagine, for parents. So, limited time. He'll be out for big chunks of this year. So I'm going to do the deep dives, and DCD, who is in the chat, does take notes typically during Scott's deep dives, or has for a little while now. I think some other folks have done it as well. But DCD is the one doing it largely these days, from what I understand. And these all get compiled into deep dive notes. There's a repo here, deep dive notes. Deep dive notes, GitHub. And they get timestamped and stuff. And then actually Patrick, Ask Patrick W, came along and did some magic in the actions of this repo that does some other interesting things, like builds together links, I think, using the timestamps like this. Yeah, so David takes, I believe DCD, maybe your name is David. I don't know if we have ever like formally been introduced. I think I've heard Scott call you that, but DCD, I should say, since you're in the chat here. Takes these notes into Google Docs, I think is how it works, and then ultimately there's scripts that parse them and then put them back out into Markdown like this, even with all these links, which is actually really cool that this is all hooked up. And definitely really interesting if you're ever trying to, like, go watch Scott, first start working on something or dive into something that you're particularly interested in. You can search through this repo with Git grep or whatever tools you want. You can search through it and find the streams that he worked on it and the times that it was, and you can kind of click straight through and go watch that part of it. So that's kind of setting the stage. DCD has been doing that. I think what we'll do when I take over Deep Dive, though, I may try to take notes for a little bit, timestamps, but I can't promise that I will keep up on it. And DCD is going to step away, at least for a little while, taking notes. So we will either maybe find somebody else who is interested in taking notes, or there's a couple other ideas that have been floated. Like I mentioned, I can try. I have a timestamper thing, actually, that I made for the meeting this week, which I think might be helpful for taking notes as well, just jotting down the time at least, and then a quick message about what it is. Post the link to the Google Docs 15 minutes before the stream. Okay, I'll have to get in the habit of doing that as well. I have never set that stuff up for my stream. But I'll put it up there. We'll see if anybody is interested. I'll try to do some. The other thing that's been floated, which I think is also a really cool idea, is Ask Patrick W was mentioning this about, it's scrolled up a little bit further. I won't go find it in the chat right now, but they were mentioning about YouTube API having a way to access your transcript after the fact. So like, I assume after the fact. I guess they're doing it kind of live for closed caption, right? You can turn on closed caption, and it does its best with like text to speech or vice versa, speech to text, to build up the closed caption for you. So I guess it's the same data that's driving that, and you can fetch it after the fact, which kind of would give us a way to have a similar set of data that folks could look back through and find stuff, but maybe be more automated, right? Somebody does not have to necessarily sit there and do the timestamps and write out what it is and follow. Especially, I will say I do have a bit of a habit, kind of like Scott, of jumping around a little bit or following rabbit holes. Like, okay, we're ready to start on this thing. Oh, actually, I got distracted for a minute, and we went and did this other thing for a little while. And so being automated would actually be super, super nice to just be able to set everything up, have it kind of pull this data, compile it together, and it's not quite curated, but it's still basically serves the same purpose of being able to search back through the history of what's going on, and then know when we're talking about certain things or other certain things, and be able to click and follow through to watch that part of the stream. So yeah, that was kind of drawn out. I am glad, DCD, that you're here, that I had a chance to talk about it. These are kind of all the things I was thinking about when I read your message and was going to write back to you with, but I'm glad that you're here and have a chance to kind of just, I could talk about it a little bit more out loud. So yeah, I think that's kind of the plan right now. Like, we have no set person, and I think that's cool. I will try to do some of them, but I can't promise I will be super thorough. I'd be happy if somebody wants to take it over when we get to it. I'll talk about all this when we do actually go on deep dive as well. But I also do, if we don't get anybody, I do think that this automated thing, and really whether or not, even if we do get somebody, I'm interested in looking into this YouTube API to pull the transcripts and be able to do some of it automatically. I think there's some other interesting things that would be cool as well, is like if you could have like a word cloud or something over time. Like one of the things I imagined when I first heard about this API was like if you had a timeline and you could kind of scroll along it, and then you had a word cloud, and the word cloud would update, you know, as you were in the timeline. Then you could also tease out things like, you know, oh, this whole section I was talking about display IO because display IO has, you know, one of the biggest words in the word cloud, or the device we're talking about, the Feather TFT or something, right? We probably will repeat that a few times, and it may show up and become easy to tell which parts are related to that. So I think there's some real interesting ways that data from the YouTube API could come together. Copy questions from the Discord. Yeah, I will mention too, I think there's limited, I don't know, it's yet to be seen. I guess we'll see what I tend to get into on the deep dive when we do it. Maybe we'll stick to more library dev. I can, you know, I definitely get the fact that there's like sort of historical significance, I guess, right? Like, you know, if Scott is working on Raspberry Pi, for instance, that's one of the recent things that he worked on stream, the Broadcom port, from the ground up. If you're super interested in the Broadcom port, or you're interested in helping solve the bugs they have in it and stuff like that, you come along later, being able to watch the person who is initially doing it do it in real time, or after the fact in this case, like they're working in real time, but you're watching after the fact, can be kind of an invaluable thing. Some of the projects and stuff I'm doing here, some people may end up doing as well, because they'll be published as learn guides and stuff. Like that might be the type of stuff I work on stream. But it's also not like the inception of this whole other port or this whole API, you know, into core CircuitPython. So I can also see that it's a different type of material that we'll cover, and it's maybe not as interesting to everybody necessarily to go back. If somebody's doing that particular project, or if somebody's interested in display IO stuff that I'm working on, or interested in particular libraries we're working on, I could see some folks going back to it, but it's not, you know, I don't know that it has the same impact as like the very first time like some, you know, new core tenant is being worked on by Scott, for sure. Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, if you're not watching live, and then being able to ask to clarify, like, you know, which tangent we went off on, or different things like that. Yeah. The other thing, it will be a bit of adjustment for me to do to watch the YouTube chat. For a while, I left the YouTube chat alone, but it was getting spammers more than it was getting anything helpful, truthfully. And so I have started turning off the YouTube chat when I stream on my own channel here. But I imagine we'll probably at least give it a try on the YouTube chat when we go to deep dive. Okay. What do we have? Okay, I just had to click to get the blue bar. Okay, so that's a bit of catching folks up, of course, about what is in store for the later part of this year. And I don't know exactly, I'll have to talk to Scott again to figure out when exactly we're doing that. I think what we talked about is maybe the idea is doing like, get the chats back up here, first or second week of March or something like that. I know he's wanting to stop the streams before he's necessarily like out on leave or whatever, because he's going to be out on leave for a couple good chunks this year. And I know he's wanting to stop the streams like before that necessarily, right? He's already getting busy with taking care of different stuff. So I think the next couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, we'll probably do one where I join him on deep dive, and then the next one will be just me, and then it'll be me for a while. So let's dive into this. Let's get device workspace. We don't need this window. We could take it over. We have Hello World on here. What do we have for versions? 720 Alpha 1. Let's go ahead and update. I think we have an alpha 2 now, right? Also, let me start some music. I usually throw music on in the background. In the groove better. Some TFT feather. Oh, interesting. This feather TFT at the end. 720 alpha, yeah. This is really cool too. 720 alpha. I think this should have the split screen stuff that K-Match worked on for us recently. It's awesome. Folks are interested in that. I streamed about that a couple of streams back. I think deep dives seem to get a few questions from LinkedIn. I have no idea about that in the other rebroadcast streams. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we'll either I'll probably try to make a note to make a point to mention on the stream that really the Discord is the best place for me. I'll try to keep an eye on the YouTube chat as well, because I know lots of folks are used to doing the YouTube chat. Maybe I'll figure out how to get the YouTube chat on the screen as well. We'll try that out. If it becomes troublesome, if we have more spammers than we do legitimate folks, or if it gets to be having not so great stuff going on and I don't have help moderating it, then we may just go with the Discord, and we'll just point folks there. But I'm open to giving it a try. I never noticed before this mozzarella stick reference. Funny. Okay. Did I download this? Yeah. So we can go to bootloader, I guess probably by hold boot and press reset on these ones, is it? Where these buttons are tiny. All right, I think we got it there. One question is though, is it going to have a UF2 bootloader, or is it need the old it's looking like it does not, yeah, not show up as feather boot or whatever. My guess is this has, is there a learn guide link here? Could add. I did this for a couple of them before. I guess we could do hop it, right? We can go here and then learn guide. Probably we need to use ESP tool, or really what I'll use is the web one, which I found to be a lot easier than the Python one. Also, put over here. Oh, it does say it ships. Oh, double tap. So we went to the ROM bootloader, but we could actually go to the UF2 bootloader. Oh, this one has the screen again. I like the ones where they put the screen on this. It's kind of washed out on the camera though, isn't it? Let me, wait, this is turn the light on, I guess. It's a little better, but it is going to catch the glare, so then let me also, I guess, try to add a bit of an angle here or something. Refocus it also. So I have a camera that's a decent camera. It's actually just a smartphone. It has a decent camera on it, but it is not auto. Autofocus goes crazy. But if you manually focus, it takes pretty good. I'm probably going to end up upgrading at some point one or the other cameras, I guess. My camera that shoots me, my face there, is relatively low end, just webcam. Just got to get that nice Sony. I've looked into that a couple of times. I think it's a Sony. Maybe that, or I would love a way to shoot down the desk camera that is lit, but not lit like next to the camera. If that makes any sense. I want it to be well lit, but not reflect off of screens back into the camera. Because a lot of what I work on is stuff with screens, and being well lit makes it easier to see what's on the screen. But with the light being right next to the sensor, it wants to reflect right back into it. It's not great. I should try, somebody mentioned paper. I should try tissue paper or some kind of really thin paper just to diffuse the light. See if that is better. All right, so we're on 2720 alpha 2 now, yeah. What's this? What I noticed today is I also need to update my YouTube blurb, probably. I have like a stock description thing that I paste into YouTube each week. Yeah, well, each week that I remember. I should probably update it. It's been a little while since I wrote it. I'm surprised this didn't print. I thought we had Hello World. Maybe it got overwritten? This looks like Hello World. Maybe it printed before the screen was ready? Yeah, that must have been it. Oh, but... well... printing, but it scrolls too far, so it's above the screen. That's, I guess we could, this will make it look weird. Import board display rotation. I'd have enough room. No, we still don't really see anything. Maybe we should have more. I don't know, this is not that big of a deal, right? Because ultimately I'm going to be jumping straight to display IO land, so it doesn't really matter. I'm kind of curious, though, why it's not showing. Okay, yeah, it's definitely just scrolling off. Is that 10? 10? Interesting. Okay. Alright, go back to 0. Okay, that's really important. So we will start by looking at requests, simple test. Example, simple test. But really we want, it's not called simple test. I think it's this one? Yeah. So some of the examples are for ESP32 SPI, and some of them are for ESP32S2, which is what we have. It's ESP32S2. Actually, this says CPython. Fresh. Second CircuitPy secrets. It to here. Plug this. All right. And we're back. So we need requests. So I will install it with Circup, because Circup is super convenient. Okay, got connected. Fetching syntax error in JSON. Can we print just the... Maybe it got an error instead of JSON, and maybe the error page. Code error. Go look and see if we can get more information. I wish I could get it to print what it has. Okay, let's fetch. So we would have gotten the MPY one from Circup. So let's do this. This will get us the Python one, so we can just look inside the code and start tracing back like what is happening where. Isn't it refresh? Yeah. And I'm actually going to delete the MPY one. It should not actually matter, and it should take the Python one anyway over the MPY one, but superstitious, so I'm going to delete the MPY. So we're probably looking for text property. Sending request failed. Into a string. So we had Unicode 37, which is here. Really want to see what it has. If this will actually work. Failed. So we had a problem where this was happening web tele guy. Resolve the certificate like SSL handshake for some reason. Okay. Huh. That's supposed to be UTF-8. Assume the default should work. I don't know how to tell what the encoding is supposed to be. Well, I'm not sure. How exactly to go about debugging this. Maybe we try ESP32 Spy. I have a PyPortal here, so maybe we try that. I'm swinging out on the government data APIs lately. Unicode error. So one thing actually is inside requests they have this, which is CPython. I guess we could be trying this on the computer. It's easier to figure out what's going on. Oh, why? I've not had much trouble with data before, like these last two things I tried to do. Let's just get rid of a bunch. Oh, we're not going to commit it. I guess let's test. I think it will. Yeah, that's just what we were getting to. I guess one thing I could do is use the actual simple test URL as well. Like, maybe the device is messed up, or maybe the firmware has a problem. Oh, I really wish this would not run differently just because it has the word test in the name. Okay, we got more information. Eight B. I will admit, I am aware of different encodings, and I have a sort of an idea of what they are for and what they do, but I don't really know too much of the particulars, honestly. Seems promising. So the page did seem like it was Egypt. Ah, yeah, so we are getting, these are the first 2 bytes, 1F, 8B, so I guess this data is gzipped, and our browser, like a real friend, is just magically unzipping it for us. That does present a problem, though. I don't know how we would unzip it CircuitPython land. Guess I should keep this chat on here. Open a different chat. I'm gonna ask in help with if anybody else has ever dealt with zip data. Oh, take a look at that. uzlib. Micro, I guess zlib, probably. Press data. Alright, give this a try. So this, oh, but this is MicroPython uzlib. Do we have this? Let's try here. Or use, or is that a module? Is that a built-in? No. Oh, it's not under core modules. Oh, this is like 1.0. I wonder, is it Let's go to the... Yeah, Google is bad about that sometimes. I noticed that as well. It really wants to show you like all kinds of crazy old stuff. I mean, it may still exist. It may just be under a different name or in a different package or whatever. I've found some links like that where like you click the go to the latest version and it's like, oh, it's gone, but really it just changed names or in a different spot or something. We might we might have luck finding like a Python implementation. Okay, actually, hold on. Let me copy this instead of take over the chat again. Let's do this. Thank you for finding these, by the way. We don't need this. Finish it? No. This page, sometimes I wish the searching worked differently. I don't know, like, cause did it fail? It failed. It's still pretending like it's working. Oh. Stemmer is not defined. Like this is making it fail, but there's no error. Checking for the front end. I think so, Neradoc. I think so. I'm not 100% sure, so here, it's not turned on. Ah, not turned on for the ports. Might be nice to have. It's not too big. Maybe we can make a custom build with it. There might be a header to tell the server not to zip it with accept encoding. That's a good idea. So I think I am, but I'm not 100% sure. So here's the data we got back, and this is on a Feather TFT, Feather TFT, ESP32, 32S2, and we got these bytes back, and it gives Unicode error when we try to read it as text, and it gives us an error if we try to read it as JSON. In the browser, it's one of these. I think it's this one. So the browser seems to just handle it correctly, but it does have like this content encoding accept encoding. Deflate? What's the like normal? Can I tell it like, is deflate just raw text? Ooh. That looks promising too. Okay, hold on, let me copy again the link. And actually, let's do this. Oh, there we go. I save the bytes. I can try. I mean, I guess the problem is what I have is the Python REPL representation of the bytes. Would I do just this part? Matter. Matters a little bit. Go somewhere different. So Linux knows that it's not zipped. Well, thinks it's not zipped. Or it doesn't seem to think that it is zipped, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. So I did try fetching the bytes in the browser, but I don't know how the browser undoes them automatically. Control O. How does curl? Hold on, I'm gonna make an actual spot to work, I guess. What? It's 2 lines, yes. But this is gonna save it as a JSON, isn't it? I mean, I can get the JSON from the browser, don't I? I would need to save it as a whatever it is and then try to unzip it? Not resolve host. I don't know. I don't think I did that right, or I don't understand how it's... Oh, these are 2 commands. Yeah, I don't understand. That's the answer. Understand. I see. Let's see. But this will, and I guess this did run, maybe. Okay. You probably don't need this. Compressed, but does it look like? I guess I'm just confused about why doesn't it need to be unzipped? Oh, okay. Well, this can't read it, so it does need to be unzipped, I guess. So it's, I mean, press. I don't know what that's. Okay. Okay, so yes. Thank you. It definitely is gzipped. Zip and gzip are 2 different encodings. Girl gets the original file. Yeah, okay. Verify hex dump C. Okay, so we are definitely gzipped, so that's good. Our Stack Overflow led us to the right potential problem. So now we find how to unzip it with CircuitPython. Fortunately, I've used this browser. I have far too many open. Interesting. This is the person from KMK, I think. Indeed, KMK. This does show closed. Put the chat here. Yeah, also let me put the Twitch back. How are we making the request? We are, well, we've done it a couple of different ways. We have in the Twitch chat there, thanks for the question. We have done it through the browser, and we have done it through the requests library, the Adafruit requests library, which is a CircuitPython library, but we've done it in CPython on the computer. We've also done it in CircuitPython on the Feather, which is ultimately where we want to end up. We also just did curl a minute ago, so we've fetched it a bunch of different ways at this point. Turned out too full. I'm gonna close it, open it when the refactoring is complete. Oh, this seems relevant. Oh, okay. 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 So we're basically don't have answer to it yet. We don't have it yet. This started it. It could be refactored and included if it were split correctly to shared module and shared binding. Guessing this one did not necessarily do that. Or maybe this one started but didn't do it all the way. Shared bindings here, gzip. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Nerdoc. Yeah, that would, I guess, be ideal if we can tell the server that we don't want it that way. That would be great. Then we don't need to worry about unzipping. Where'd the music go? I have too many browsers. Browser. Okay, here we go. And we're back. Yeah, I don't know. I did see it. It does, we'll backburner this. Eventually we may be able to enable it. Even if just to test we could enable it and not do the refactoring and stuff, we might be able to get away with that. And that would be kind of fun to do, actually, as an exercise, I guess. Just building CircuitPython and enabling a thing that's not in it that is in MicroPython. But if we can avoid it, that would be super cool. So we, with requests, we can modify the header, I think. Noticed in the browser, it does say these. I don't know if accept encoding deflate. We just took gzip out of this list. I wonder what it would return to us. But I also don't know Well, here we go, actually. Let's use, PyCharm has this. I have no idea how to access it, though. Make a URL file? Or make a .request file? Gov.request? Seems promising. HTTP. I don't know. So there's a thing. So I used to use this program called Postman, which maybe was a standalone app. In fact, it was in the list there. Oh, from PopShop, I see. What was the other one of those called? Insomnia? Do I have that? Yeah, that's also in the PopShop. They are HTTP request clients. One day I figured out that PyCharm has this built in, though. Accept identity. Way would have been to use accept identity. It's accept encoding identity, but it doesn't get you unzipped. Okay. Deflate is another kind of compression. Okay, so we wouldn't want that one either. Okay. So identity would be what it is, and it sounds like it won't work. .http. That's the type of file. I'm curious. I'm going to try this real quick. I'm willing to go on a little bit of a tangent. I think this would be a nifty tool if I actually learned how to use this, at least enough to remember it. So I won't go too far, but let's see if we can get it to work from here and then see the results. HTTP. Hey there, DevKitty. Thanks for the follow on Twitch. Appreciate it. And all the requests. So I think this is just, it gets a URL to start with, at least. And then I think there's other things we can add, but we might be able to run it with just this. Save it. Run it. Run this one. Yeah, look at that. Okay. Interesting. I don't actually see it. What if we don't? What happens if you don't pass accept encoding? Because it looks like this didn't pass it, or at least it's not listed. And it did. I mean, I guess it's conceivable PyCharm knows how to unzip it. Which one of these tells us that it's zipped, I guess? I guess it doesn't really... distinctify between request headers and response headers. Which would be a bigger step? Rebuild CircuitPython. For me, probably installing MicroPython would be a bigger step. But it is possible that maybe that's not actually a bigger step, and I just don't actually have really any experience with MicroPython. The only MicroPython I've ever done was on the microbit, the original one. And I know it would be quite a bit different than that, I think. I am curious if this is plain text. But I mean, curl... What would curl use as a default? Because curl we didn't specify, and we got the gzipped one. So don't know too much about what. So there's ways you can put inside of here more specific stuff, I think. Yeah. Header field, header value. Post body. Oh, okay, and you can do get and post as well. Interesting. There's actually an example of. Okay. So I don't know, it probably doesn't need this, but we are doing a get except encoding, and then we would want identity. I guess this won't really make a difference to what we see, because PyCharm must be doing it automatically. Did not get anything different listed here, so I guess it's not showing the. These must be response headers, and you must not be seeing the request headers. Weird, it doesn't specify the encoding or anything in here. I can see at least. Gosh. Weird too that the content type gets to be application JSON. It is zipped. Like. So here we did get different. We got a content encoding and it was gzip. Encoding. We don't see that here. Type. Interesting. Maybe this hides some of it? No. Well, they have a converter. If you are used to using curl. Interesting. If you're used to using curl, I am not personally, but if you are, you can paste it into a curl command and it will like parse it. That's actually really cool. Okay. I don't know how we response handler script. I don't know really how we look at the headers. Did show curl earlier. Sounds like Neurodoc tested curl. So this was H for header. Then accept encoding as a string colon value. Look, it sounds like. Guess I should have tried. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let's try see if we can enable it in CircuitPython. See how hard that is. Would be cool to have it. Okay. Oh, I'm probably super out of date, I'm guessing. It's been a while since I messed with the core. Also, for a while there, I was using Sea Lion instead of PyCharm. So I wasn't updating. I guess maybe it would have been updating. In repo? Or per, yeah, that was the other thing that crossed my mind. We could maybe find Python code that unzips it that doesn't rely on anything outside of like standard lib. If that exists, then we should maybe put it inside the request library. Okay, so let's look at the one that was gonna just enable it. I don't have it anymore, or it was in one of these. MicroPython one. PyFlate? So it looks like it's meant to be run as a from the command line, but we should be able to find function we could import and use. Gzip main. Okay, so it opens the file. It makes a rbit field out of the file. And then it calls gzip main. Also, oh, okay. So yeah, we don't need to write out. Instead, we should just be able to look at it after we're done with this. Okay, so let's try this. I guess I'll just put it here. Should I put it here? Yeah, that's fine for now. I'm actually going to move it, and to start with, I'm going to try it here. No. Here. Ooh. Why is this mad at all the strings? Oh. Supposed to raise a string? Oh. This is Python 2. Figure out what kind of file it is. Yeah. Catching up just now. Yeah. 2 to 3 or something, we could do it. I'm curious to poke a little bit more on this route of building CircuitPython. I know I'm kind of going in all directions, but I'm curious to give this one a try as well. I'm going to work on this in this direction for now. Thank you. Huh? Oh. They only. This is, I think, what I want to try. Oh, well, this was always just an issue, though. Okay. I thought this was a PR that was going to show me the right flag to go and change. That does not appear to be the case. So really, we could try building from this branch. That's basically what we got. What was the number? 274. So let's try. Well, I'm in the wrong port, honestly. Sure. Okay. Tired of using the terminal. Am I missing files or something? Why is there's no boards folder? I have Espressif, which has ESP-IDF and certificates. The ESP32 has 2, which seems promising, and has old builds. Doesn't have boards. Let's have the wrong files, right? Okay, Espressif is the current one. ESP32S2 must have been old, and I should have stuff in Espressif, but I don't. Maybe I didn't. That's probably, I guess. Oh, but this would be like, this is like an ancient branch, so it's not current. Yeah. And it was before a bunch of these things existed, so like really I would need to go to main and merge that branch to main and then try to build from that. But that will probably also mean resolving conflicts that I don't know anything about. I never did run the make fetch. I don't know the right command. I don't know. Dang, man, the stuff you take for granted that the browser does for you. Weird. Make. Isn't that what I just did? Spell it wrong? Oh. Yeah, I mean, I can make a Python server that does it. I considered doing that for the Webb telescope also. The thing is that I can't commit to keeping it running, and I don't want to make the whole project like, because ultimately this will be for a learn guide. I don't want to make the whole project dependent on a server that's not going to stay running. Because we actually just ran into that problem with the Webb telescope, which is the previous one I was trying to work on where I failed fetching data. It originally was using a third-party server, and that server went down. And then we found a new URL, but we can't fetch it yet. And I did briefly consider, like, I could stand up a server, and I can basically just make a proxy. Like, CircuitPython device hits my server hits their server, does whatever kind of formatting it needs to, and then returns it as super basic JSON text to the CircuitPython device. Mark, yeah, I would say, I am looking into unzipping gzip specifically. But in relation to web requests, right? I'm not necessarily like, I have a gzipped file and I want to unzip it. I happen to be getting gzipped data back from a HTTP request. And so we're trying to unzip the data that's coming back, be able to read it, and then ultimately show it on the screen was the real goal. Yeah, I could try the proxy server. I'm confident the proxy server could work, so I could do that, and then I could work on a different part of the project, certainly. But I am also, I think, willing to dive a little deeper down the rabbit hole, even if we don't end up getting this solved today. I'm willing to poke a bit and just try to expand what I know and what I'm capable of. So we will try this fetched. Let's try merging this back to here. Should I make a separate? Should probably make a separate copy of main. I think I want to mess up my current main. New branch there. branch. Zip test. Now we will merge from this topic mod gzip. Hope for not too many. Yeah. Kinda not too many. Okay. The one thing is the actual code also has changed here. Yeah, I think that's what this screen is nice for that. It does seem though like we have so in our case this one is main on the left and this one is the PR on the right. So we do have some changes from main that actually did change this code. I wonder if we should try going back to main and just enabling it without any of the changes from this PR. But I guess these were probably necessary to make it work. Not too many spots where there's actual conflict, like this is one of them, but it has a magic wand. Would probably figure it out. Like it has an extra line. If gzip.c. I think what I want to try first actually is back to main. Oh, I hate when I get into this state. I don't want to resolve them. I just want to give it up. I just want to throw it away. Go back to before it. That's why I made a branch. Unresolved conflicts. Yeah, I really can't just check out. Resolve. I don't understand why I can't just undo. Like undo attempting to merge. Even if it was like just delete the branch, ultimately that's what I would be fine with. So I think I want to try here. What do we have? Is it uzip or ulibzip? Let's see what was turned on here. Uzlib. So this would be the thing that needs to be inside the board configure. So let's go to Other TFT? Which one of these is it? Deconfigure port? Oh, ping in the other channel. Let me, actually, let me put that back. Scroll this way away. Is it in here where I would put like MPY something true? Or 1, I guess? I don't actually mess with this type of stuff all too often, as you can probably tell. Long int. A or the H both have it. This could be the right spot. We have more of these. What? I really need to go delete those builds so I can get rid of that other directory. Rule. Rule to make target display IO parallel bus. I don't know what that's for. I guess I should have started from actual main. Build like a known. I mean, right now my only change should be this, which shouldn't really mess with display IO anything. So can I just not build on main either? Because this, surely this change would not have made a difference, right? Was I not updated? Yeah, I wasn't updated. I thought I pulled earlier. It canceled. Maybe it got canceled earlier. Is it getting canceled? Already up to date. Get canceled though. Hmm. Man. Why? So if I see I didn't type it right, that would be why. Okay. Here. The same thing. Is anybody else able to build from main? The ESP Feather 32S2? By chance, if anybody is around? It seems like I just can't to me. Build Feather. Maybe I should get a like totally full new clone. We're pretty deep into the rabbit hole at this point. I don't know that we're gonna really solve this truthfully today, but I'm willing to grind away for a little while longer. Submodules are updating. Am I cloned or forked? I am cloned. Well, I mean, I have a fork, but I am right now in native root branch. I try building for a different board. Yeah. Try MagTag. It's an older one, and it doesn't have a. Well, it has a display, but it's a totally different display. Or Funhouse. Oh, that has a display though. Metro ESP32. This would be like the original one. I got same thing with oh, Metro. Is Twitch behind, or rather, closer to real time than YouTube? I guess let's try a totally different port. I mean, kind of interested in sticking to this one ultimately, but so I get a different specific error, but the same kind of error. The Atmel port. So will probably take a minute. High oh, nice. From to Python 3. Accidentally put a CD in the chat. High download. Just download CircuitPy also. Why didn't it paste? We're going to go back to requests. We're going to delete this. Paste this one. Neradoc has ever so kindly converted for us. Thank you very much for doing this, by the way, Neradoc. I really appreciate it. Wait. And now I'm going to look at CodePy. Didn't open. Even like looking at the magic bit, not just assuming that it's going to be. Here. Go here. Try attacking this stuff on the same way. In this case, data was response.content. Let's do that. Turn this off. Turn this off. Oh. And put it down here. Ah, indeed. That is awesome. So, now, let's fix this. And let's put it into this one. Whoa. Okay. This, yep. Oh, back to, I guess I'll just close this for now. Reopen it in the other one if we go back to it anyway. Look at that, only had one library before this. I must not have probably pulled this out to test with anything. Surely I would have needed the library. Original code, yeah, I saw that the original one handles a couple of things. I just mean, even though it's probably easier to copy paste, I still, for whatever reason, am the kind of person where I probably would have just left this out and just assumed it was the right one, and then used it more and more until eventually it bit me for being the wrong one. Blew up in whatever way it blows up. So I forgot to print. So that probably succeeded. We don't actually know. Ta-da? Cha. Wait. Oh, come on. We added the print, it's gonna take longer. It did finish, so I suspect it succeeded. Interesting. So one thing I guess we could do is... Oh, well, it already does this, actually. Oh, okay, we got it. Requests took quite a while, but after we got the response, it seemed like it went. We do have this. It's the right data, so we could read out of it. Let's get this. This is the actual data point. So now let's go here. And this, let's go JSON data, JSON loads, out, print, JSON data, data, whoops. What was it? Active, there's underscores, love to see underscores. So now this should print just the number. I guess if it goes quicker this time too. Yep, it sure did. Oh. List indices. Oh, I think it's did the JSON wrong. It's in there. That. Data 0. Active visitors. Close. Okay. Yeah, I must have my local clone broken right now. I'll probably just start from a fresh one. And it does, yeah, we got the data. We got the single number. Okay. So I will probably go on to display IO next, because putting it onto the screen is kind of the part that I'm actually most familiar with, so I could do that pretty quickly. I do want to stop for just a second and think about, though, the ultimate goal of this is to be published in a Learn guide. What is the best way for us to make this available? Do we make like community library version of this PyFlate? Hundred lines. Copy this into requests. Or do we try to finish off that PR that is licenses BSD? That's true. There may be others. Or do we try to get it into the core? I guess those are kind of the options. Are use PyFlate, basically make an updated PyFlate library that's CircuitPython compatible. The guide can use that. If it's in the community bundle, I think even Learn System will auto bundle it. I know CircUp will find it. Pretty much either that or the code lives inside of, I think, requests would be the place to put it, but because ideally, at least in my mind, I think, yeah, I'm wrong. I think in my mind, ideally, the requests library just does it for you. Because I think that's what will happen here, right? I don't think this will do anything. I don't think this will tell us anything about the zipping, and I think we'll be able to access JSON, and then it will just give it to us. You're wrong, though. I don't actually use this. I also don't know exactly how to use it. Yeah. I think if we could mimic this API, this is probably best, which then means that basically this code ends up living inside of Adafruit requests. I don't know for sure if that will be what everybody wants or be what's best. It does. Um, there is, Charles, we think, or there was at one time. There's code for it, but it's not enabled in CircuitPython. So there are. I'll pull up the PRs. Somebody linked them a little while ago. So there is a PR 1274. Which was a person basically doing a little bit of refactoring and then enabling the core module for uzip, microzip, I guess it would be probably. But it didn't get merged and it's currently closed and it needs some more work refactoring done. But I guess this is probably better than having it in requests, as if it happened in C code. Keep it as an external lib. Change requests. Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. That is definitely a good idea. Maybe we'll, yeah, let's do that actually. Let's do that. You know what else we could work on is quasi-internet related. A week or two ago, we were looking at ESP32 spy library, I think it was, and we found that the debug option prints more than it should. I've been meaning to go back and do a PR for that. Where did we originally we crashed from? Well, we crashed from JSON, but JSON is going to be getting text. Pulling it from self.raw. This is the original code. Here, it loads it. Decoder. So well, so 0 and 1 are the 2 bytes we want to look at. System this way. So can we check if they're subscriptable? Sure exactly how we check on it. Yeah, I think that that is probably true. I will say, it's not something I've delved too far into, so I probably am not the one to judge how far along it is or isn't, but it does seem like to me as well that there's probably not all that much that needs to happen in the core. It just has never been a priority. So I do think you're probably right, Mark. I think it probably, and I do, the more I think about it, I do think that's probably the best case, is if that lives in the core. Then requests can check the bytes like it's gonna, and then use the core code to unzip it if it is, and then it happens without the user having to worry about, just like the C one. Python requests. So I do think that's probably where we will try to go. But I don't think I will get all the way through that today. I will try to make this PR though, because we should, at least like now that we know what is going on, we should try to help the next person who finds a site that does this. Just print something? Did I run it? I didn't run it. Yeah, that'd be awesome. If you want to take a look, there's a, do you have the link to the, here, I'll drop this again. Somebody linked this in here, but maybe I don't remember exactly where I pulled it from, and it was definitely a while ago. This was the start on it, 1274. That would be awesome though, if you want to take a look. Move, yeah. Yep, that's right. Okay, so this is a raw response object. So do we need to call read, I guess? That's what this code here is doing. But I guess sometimes it's going to not need read, and sometimes it is going to read need. Need read? Less error? Less than. Oh. Okay. This thing, JSON loads, was changed to be able to work with anything that has a read into function, which this must have. So read, I guess, will give us bytes. Yeah. And then from there, we can check on them by doing this. And I think this will give us 2 bytes. Nope. Close, but no cigar. Now we have 2 bytes. So then we can go equals equals byte string F. And this will print true this time, hopefully. Yep. And then, so really this should be if this is true, we re-raise it, and we keep it as a Unicode decoder. It's really not that. It's like an encoding error, but I don't know. Not really an encoding error, except for value error. Not implemented error, I guess, is really what it is right now. Well, not really though, right? We don't have gzip implemented, but that's not actually what the error is, I guess. Type error? There's an error code in Android that's called like user is a goat error, something like that, an exception type that's that. Or no, looking through this list made me remember that. I never formally learned errors. I don't know if it's like proper to use a certain kind or another kind. I think I'll go with I'm thinking value error, because the value we got is zipped and we need to unzip it and we can't. That strikes me as a value error. If the value weren't zipped, then we would not have an error. Probably keep this kind of succinct but still descriptive. Must be doing this wrong. Still, how do I raise? Oh, I see. Okay. Is there a chance this was right? Yeah, maybe this is better. Let's see, unable to read zipped data. Pretty There we go. Okay. This got added when it shouldn't. Dash dash cached. This got changed, but should get rolled back. I have no idea if I was ever... Did I pull when I started this? Hopefully. Okay, check out dash B, handle zip, or gzip error. Zip error. Raise. No track. Okay, our only change. We should run pre-commit. So we'll fail some reuse because I have extra files, and reuse looks at files that aren't checked in. Unnecessary parens after raise. Oh, it's not a function? And it's treating those as parentheses around an expression. Using the from keyword. I'm familiar with that. How could you... I don't think I've ever seen from used as part of arrays. Oh, interesting. As gzip error. So from... Weird, I had no idea that from could be used for anything other than imports. That is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. What else can you use from on? This makes it seem like it's more generic. I really always thought it was like directly related to importing. We passed black. We failed reuse because we have an extra file. But we passed pilot, so we should be good. The extra file is not actually checked in, so we're always going to fail reuse locally. Okay. Go to foamyguy. Pick the most convoluted ways to get to places sometimes. Ready on this. it would be and technically, but it feels wrong. And isn't it and if it starts with a sure sounds wrong though. A really neither of them sound right. Unicode error, I think it was. Well, that's also only what we got on CPython. I suppose we should test it on CircuitPython. Was it the same kind of error? That's actually a good question. Check that. So let's check it by delete this based on the one we just changed. Whoa. And change this to not do this part. Instead, just do this. Okay. Name error. So that's not the kind of, that's not what we want to do. So are we not even allowed to try and catch? A value error. So I did choose to be relatively wisely, or at least consistently. Now the next question is a uni decode error, does it count as a value error? Is it a subclass of value error? In which case, value error is the one we want to use because that'll work for both. Didn't raise. Means this was wrong? Or not true, I guess? We should have been doing this on the device. Oh. We have a star at the beginning of our data. This is also not 8D or 8B or 1F. We're just totally different, actually. So why is this different? Is that a different one of the magic numbers? Not. That's huh? Uh, hmm. That's not zipped. This is not going to print anything. Well, it'll print the error. Error in the JSON. Response. No content. Here's read, but this is going to be that other. So why would we be getting different stuff? The read into handles buffers. Okay, so we just got it different ones? Maybe? I don't, because now it's back to this. Or it's... changed by the time it got to here? I don't even know what that means. Mad because I accessed it twice? So if I can only access it once, how do I do it both before and after? Can't. If I can only do it once, then it can't be before and after. Why am I able to do it twice here? It tries once here, fails and raises this exception, and then by the time I read it here, I have different data in it. Either that or we just got unlucky once. Was the header stripped from the buffer? That's a good question. I don't know. Could look further in. Maybe there was... Yeah, maybe it's further over. Yeah, we do have quite a bit different at the beginning. Doesn't even contain 1F. Doesn't have 1F at all. But it's not just like... Not just like got extra. Ah, man, I am confused by this. So much for like just quick, let's make a nice little PR, no problem. That's so weird that it is different data on CircuitPython. I don't understand that. So this scares me because let's say we get the gzipping working. I mean, we have it working obviously with PyFlate. Thank you again to NearDoc. But maybe it's not, even if we can make the gzip work, well, we saw it work though, right? We saw it work. It worked here. We did this and we got real data. But if we did this and got real data, then it had to start with the gzip thing. 1FB8 or 8B. But then when we look at it, why does it not start with that? I don't know. I am, today is not my day. Clearly. I am very, very perplexed. Because this works. It won't print the data because we didn't call JSON. So I forgot to print the actual result too. So that's awesome. Oh, I'm thinking maybe I misunderstood what you meant, C. Grover. You're saying like, was the 1F 8B stripped out somehow? Which is what you said. I don't know why I didn't really interpret it the right way before. Did read consume the 2 bytes? I don't know, cause it doesn't. Well, we never called JSON. This does read the bits differently than how I was trying to do it with string and square brackets. This does succeed though. So it had to be 1F 8B, otherwise this would not have succeeded. It would have been blank here. This would have failed. So it had to be that. Response.content. It's different data. It's different every time too. This one doesn't have an asterisk at the beginning. I get JSON after getting. So first thing, very first thing, nothing else. Okay. So it's different after stuff tries to run. So when this executes, it changes content. If I put this right here, it will be different when it prints, or honestly, it just might not let me print, I guess it will. We're trying to print it here too. Oh, but it's failing. Yeah. Okay, it did print, and it is different. As soon as it runs this, it's different. The problem is that this is the line that causes the fail originally. So if we're going to catch the existing exception, we have to catch it here. And by the time we get into the except block, our content is just magically different. And I don't know how to get this back to the original. So we basically can't let this run unless we can figure out why it's changing content and how to undo it. Then we just can't let this run. Otherwise, we then lose. Read into, is there a seek? Or like, go back to the beginning? It has a read. Some things after you read, you have to like seek back. How's that? Govt. Oh. Yeah. So I don't know why it's changing. But unless we can make it not change, or we can figure out how to convert it back, we just can't let this run. Which means we would have to check here before we try that. But then I wonder if it's going to be different for this, because if us accessing it to check it ends up changing it in the same way that this is, then by the time it gets here, it wouldn't have real JSON in it anymore. Might not. I don't know, I guess, what's in it actually. Like, we could take this and put it here. This is no longer. Rid of this. But I think probably we're gonna run into the problem now where it won't. It'll crash when it gets to here. If it gets one that's not gzipped, because I think when this accesses it, it will either not work, raise that exception, like must use first time or whatever, or maybe it'll let it, but it will be different data, so it won't just load. I'm not sure why the bot that you're spamming. It's not the most sophisticated bot in the world, I will say that. If you paste like code or something, I wasn't actually looking, so I didn't see what you pasted. If it was log or something, if it has repeats, sometimes the bot doesn't like it. If you throw it on gist or something, you can link it here. Capture the header bytes before. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try. It pastes to. Ah, I see. This was what it was. X dump. Okay, so we got sending request failed. So this, I think, this will make it raise the value error correctly, I think. But I think the rub will be when we switch back to a URL that doesn't have zipped data, then I think it will broke. Yeah, so here we got our exception. So fingers crossed, I guess. If we can switch this back to when it was before. This. And if this works, then I guess we're good. But I don't have super high hopes, truthfully. But maybe. Probably going to be wrapping up here pretty soon, too. Did not get, Westfield did not. Didn't get done what I had hoped, because I definitely had hoped to have this project a little further along, but I'm glad that we at least worked through major issue and understand what it is and have a path forwards, because it'd be a bigger bummer if we had not gotten it done and not at least figured out what was going on. Yeah, so now the problem is on the ones that aren't gzipped, this will fail because it will basically, it doesn't let you read the same thing twice. So I don't know how to access it without breaking it, basically. It's like, it seems like the first time we access it, it seems like we can't, well, we can't access it a second time. But I mean, it has this cached. You would think cached, I guess, ultimately. See, this, I mean, the other thing is I don't really know. I should probably read or try to get more familiar with requests, the module. Because it seems like it's doing some caching where maybe it would be reading it for you, and then if you have already read it once, maybe would access it a different way, I guess. But the cached one. But it cached is getting set as object, and it's not gonna get that far because it's not gonna be able to decode JSON. We kind of have chicken and egg problem, pretty much. Like, once this tries to decode it as JSON, the data is just different, and we can, like, we'll either have to figure out why it's different and undo it and get it back, or else we can't check it anymore after this happens. But then we have the other problem of if we try to check it before we do this, then we're just not allowed to look at it twice. Second time we try, we get this error. So we would have to take it out, store it in a variable, check it, raise the error if we need to. If we don't need to, then we have to, from then on, always reference it from our variable. But I suspect the way this is operating, there's probably a reason for it. And just making a new variable that stores the entire content of the response probably is going to be consuming twice as much memory than it needs to. I assume it's already storing it somehow. Then I guess the question is, how do we access the one that is stored? Can you not, does CPython requests have this limitation where you can't access it multiple times? That's something that we had to add for some reason. Test in the name again. Gotta be this way. No. So I wonder if there's a reason why. I mean, there must be a reason. I wonder what the reason is that ours has this limitation of accessing it twice. I don't really know what I'm looking for. I don't know exactly how to solve this. I mean, I know one way to solve it would be like data equals self.content and then or like underscore content. And then this can check here. I think this will work, and then this could also do this. I think that will work. I don't know for sure. I think. But I don't know, there must be I suspect there's a downside to this. Probably it's consuming more RAM. Bytes doesn't have read into. Okay, well we can't do that anyway. Oh, okay. Maybe. But yeah, so this is bad. Read into is probably allowing it to chunk. But with this, it's going to have to load the entire response into memory. Peak function. Yeah, I do agree. I'm curious why we do have the limitation of accessing it once. If it's just like a memory saving thing. Could refetch it. Like inside. Nah. I mean like inside.json. Like fetch it once and then check the header, and if the header is not this, then fetch it again, and then go on and try and decode it. I don't think we want to go. I mean, that would, if it works like that, I think it would work. It would solve this solution, but I don't think we want to double up the request. Unless, like, we absolutely, positively have to. This, I think, well, what did I... Oh, we just failed here. This, I think, would work, but I assume that the load was done here. Yeah, like this is the old version. I assume that load allowed it to go in chunks with read into. Request failed. And so by using loads, we are just undoing that, which is what it falls back to also on the old ones. If we could just get the first 2 bytes and store those in a variable and then somehow still be able to access it after that again. Okay. Did I change something to break it, or are we just can't succeed now anymore also? Oh, well, we're also on this wrong URL. But I mean, we're not even making it to JSON. We're definitely failing before the code we changed. I am beat down by web stuff today. Okay. It does work. We just got unlucky several times in a row. Okay. So this is functional, but I suspect undesirable. So if, in order for it to be successful with this one, then we would want to see it raise the gzip error that says can't read gzipped data. It did. But yeah, this is functional and does what we want, but I suspect not really the solution we want, because this had to change, and I'm guessing the whole point of the original change to this was like with merit. There was a good reason to change it to this. So can we call read into twice, or does read into also? I don't know the right way to pre-allocate an array or a byte array. Yes. I don't think this is the right way. Type error object buffer protocol was required. Okay. Okay. So this should raise the gzip error, but the real question will be when we go back to the non-gzip data, will this actually get real JSON from it? Or will it be different / gone / not allowed to access again? I think I'm probably going to head out after this. Thank you again to everybody who has helped out in the chat, Neardoc, especially for translating this Pi plate, which eventually we will, I think, incorporate this code somewhere. And also Mark for taking a look. Yeah, so we got this. That half works, but what about this half? Oops, wrong way. Fingers crossed. I kind of don't think it will, but love to be pleasantly surprised. That's just a regular failure. That's fine. Retry. Okay, so it did not just fail entirely like I thought it would, but it didn't really work either because we didn't get this is not JSON. Honestly, I don't know what it did, but I'm kind of surprised it didn't fail, truthfully. Because it made it through this and managed to return an object that must have just been args. I don't know what the full response actually is. I'm guessing that it trimmed the first two characters out, and then it happened to accidentally still be partially somewhat valid JSON. Yeah. Args, we got this. So we cut some of it out, and then it didn't get put back. So we didn't get the full data. Okay. I'm gonna head out for now. I'm gonna play with some other stuff for today. So thank you again, though, to Neradoc and Mark and C. Grover, DCD, everybody who is in the chat. I appreciate all of you helping me troubleshoot. Charles as well. I think maybe I got everybody. Neradoc, Charles, Mark. Yeah, I think so. So thank you to all you folks that helped me. Thank you to everyone who's watching. I will be back next week for sure. Same time, like Saturday, 10 a.m. Central Time is when I started streaming today. That was about 3 hours ago. Whatever time zone you're in, what time it is right now, whatever time it was 3 hours ago on Saturday, that's when I normally stream. So you can catch me on Twitch or YouTube, and definitely I encourage you to join us on the Discord. I will be back definitely next Saturday, but possibly sometime before then. You can follow me on the Twitch if you want to get notified when I stream before that. I've been streaming on Mondays a fair amount, so probably pop on at some point Monday. But yeah, I don't know for sure. Saturday definitely will be the next one. But again, you can follow me on Twitch if you want to get before, see it when I get on, if I do before that. So yeah, thanks all, and I will catch you all next time.